I'm in Florida for NAREIT's 2019 ESG Forum. Joining me today is Dan Egan, Senior Vice President, Energy and Sustainability with Vornado Realty Trust. Dan, thanks so much for joining us.
Sure, it's a pleasure.
Now, Vornado won the most recent Leader in the Light Award in the diversified sector. What's the biggest challenge facing a company with a diversified portfolio when it comes to implementing successful ESG initiatives?
Sure. I mean, I think when you think of a diversified company, you face issues of fragmentation, whether you're diverse geographically, diverse by property type, diverse by operational control. And the control itself often, depending on property type, varies quite a bit. I think we're at an advantage because we really don't have a lot of those challenges. We are geographically concentrated, as you know, in New York City for the most part, in addition to Chicago and San Francisco. And we, our diverse portfolio from office to retail is concentrated geographically and managed centrally by our team. So when it comes to characterizations of our portfolio and implementing programs, we retain a probably higher degree of operational control than your typical diversified REIT may have.
And last year, you and I talked about how some of the new regulations in New York would impact your company's development and building operations. Sure. Can you give us an update on what impact you've seen and how Vornado has adjusted?
Sure. It's a very highly discussed topic right now. I think beyond New York, I'll focus on New York, but San Francisco and Chicago as well, they implemented regulation on carbon disclosure to start. So whether it's a benchmarking law where you have to submit your energy and water consumption on an annual basis, or now they're going to a letter grade law where they're going to publicly assess your building's efficiency with a letter grade or a star, depending on the market you're in. We saw that pass somewhat recently, in the last 5 years. We've moved on from carbon disclosure to carbon performance. And so I think New York in particular has an 80 by 50 carbon reduction goal as a city. They recognize that buildings carry a lot of the weight with carbon consumption, and so are legislating creative ways to compel buildings to reduce their carbon emissions on a per square foot basis. I think that the implications there could be tremendous, depending on what sort of performance your building currently has with carbon emissions. Buildings that have not been paying attention to this over the last several years will likely have a lot of work to do to maintain compliance, or else they face significant fines. I also think, with the conversation really ramping up on climate change risk, I think what we're seeing is a manifestation of the regulatory risk that comes along with climate change. And so, in order to bring your jurisdiction or the country or the world into a scenario where we've mitigated climate change, that needs to be accompanied with some costs that's associated with regulation. And so it's very interesting to almost see in real time how that's working in our communities. I think the goals are in the right place. I just hope that the ends don't justify the means without a meaningful discussion about it.
Now, lastly, building maintenance isn't typically an area people think of regarding sustainability, but Vornado has established itself as a leader in terms of green cleaning. Can you talk about why this area is so important and the results that you've seen to date?
Sure. We're so proud of our green cleaning program. We've owned our own janitorial subsidiary, building maintenance services, for several years, and we're really one of the first companies to adopt a formalized green cleaning program for our buildings. Green cleaning really represents a culmination of so many material topics on ESG, not just sustainability. For one, we're maintaining a healthy environment for our tenants. We use low, no VOC content materials. We source them responsibly. Another, the BMS, not surprisingly, is one of our largest suppliers. And so by nature of controlling the purchasing that BMS does in a responsible way, we've really controlled a huge part of our supply chain when it comes to what we're buying and what we're using in our buildings. BMS always, or most recently, has surpassed 80% of its total purchases as meeting some kind of green or responsible criteria, and they maintain that very proudly. In addition to that, BMS employs thousands of people to their workforce, and with that comes very important topics of human capital management, health and safety, diversity and inclusion, they're all really celebrated in that division. So to talk about green cleaning for us it's an opportunity for us to talk about an array of really important parts of our ESG program, and it's something that we're proud to feature on look at this coming report. You'll see much more.
Great. Dan, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
For more on this and other ESG related topics, be sure to visit NAREIT's website, REIT.com.